And I hope that the Glazers take that billions of pounds of money and they go off and they go and buy Liverpool with that money. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think that could happen. We get our first look at United this season today at 5 PM GMT time. Man United are playing Leeds United in Oslo, Norway, of all places. Anyway, pre-season I always feel is a bit of a time to get to see the players and what condition they're in, and check out all the new signings. And we have Mason Mount to check out as one of our signings this season. Well, he is the only signing we have so far, so we get to see what he's like. But let's hope by the next friendly, by the time the team flies out to the USA, we have a couple of more signings. And talking about a couple of more signings, let's move on to the Onana deal. Yes, people are getting worried and that this deal is taking a long time and why it's taking a long time. But let me rest your fears over this delay. Onana is 99% coming to United. Of course, you cannot rule out that 1% where something crazy happens and the player doesn't come to United. But Inter and United are super relaxed about this whole transfer. I called it out a couple of weeks ago. I said, look, the two clubs are really relaxed. I wouldn't even call this negotiations. I'd call this simply trying to work out a way of processing the deal and the payment plan that suits both parties. Once they've got this plan right, then Man United will confirm everything in a formal paperwork that's going to be sent over to Inter to sign and agree. Both clubs are getting on really well and all the parties involved want to get this deal done. They want it to go ahead. We can just look forward to seeing the best dribbling goalkeeper for United ever. Yes, he is coming this season to Manchester United. It'll be wicked. I'm going to admit one thing. I've not seen Onana play a lot of football. I've not watched him play. The only time I first watched him play seriously a whole match was against Man City in the Champions League final, where he was the goalkeeper for Inter Milan. We were all cheering on Inter Milan, hoping that they would win against City, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But Onana did play well in that game, and if it wasn't for the strike force of Inter, I think they would have won it, because I think City were there for the taking. They looked really nervous that night. Coming back to Onana, he just oozes confidence, and I feel he's just really calm on the ball, and that gives confidence to the defence and the rest of the outfield players that this guy is a wall between the goal and nothing's going to go past him. And then he's a dribbler. He can dribble the ball out. I think I've heard someone actually say that this guy, he's like a defensive midfield player. He's not even like a goalie. His control of the ball is brilliant and he is very impressive. And one of the key reasons I reported on why Onana wanted to join Man United was because of his link with Ten Hag. He used to be Ajax goalkeeper under Ten Hag. Ten Hag, in fact, he says, made him the keeper that he is. He gave him the ability to dribble and play out from the back. That is why Onana wants to join back up with United and link back up with Ten Hag, because he owes everything to Ten Hag. And I believe in Ten Hag. I believe what he's doing is brilliant. He's moving out the old rubbish players, the ones who do not fit in the system, the ones who are liabilities, and bringing in these clutch players who are for the big games and big moments. And Onana is one of those players, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I really cannot wait for Onana to join this club. He's joining not just because Man United is a huge club, but he's also joining for Ten Hag. Now moving on, we're also having lots of rumours now coming out, news reports coming out of Man United tapping up Sofyan Amrabat. Yes, Sofyan Amrabat is a Moroccan international who's currently playing for Fiorentina in Italy, and he wants to join Man United apparently. This is what we're hearing. It's funny how all these players are coming from Serie A, aren't they? All these players that we're now buying are coming from Serie A. Anyways, unfortunately, I can't confirm whether this is true or false. I can't confirm whether this is actually happening or not. So I'm not going to go and say that, look, this is happening, because I've not heard anything from people that I know saying that this deal is happening and it's taking place. What I can say is that Man United, I'm sure, have tapped up Amrabat and have spoken to him and worked out that he really does want to join Man United, and probably have agreed personal terms, hence why there's so much talk right now of this deal happening, and lots of more people are reporting this. However, I can say that I've not heard anything of Man United officially approaching Fiorentina to open up negotiations about Amrabat. So how it would work out in the transfer is that Man United have obviously would agree personal terms with Amrabat, and then they'll move forward and start verbally speaking with Fiorentina and discussing the possibility of him moving, and then discussing a fee for him and a payment plan. Once the payment plan is agreed, Man United will then make a formal offer, which they'll already know that will be accepted by Fiorentina, and it'll just be a matter of formalities and get it signed, and Amrabat will come. It's funny how player transfers have changed over time. So back in the days, what would happen is the first thing that a club would do if they wanted a player, they would make a formal offer, a formal bid by email, fax or whatever to the club saying we want to buy this player and here's our offer for millions of pounds, and then it'll go back and forth and then agree a fee. And only once a fee has been agreed for millions of pounds, they would then approach the player and then try to agree personal terms with the player. However, this has now completely turned around on its head and its opposite way. Now what clubs tend to do is actually first go and tap up the player and agree personal terms with the player, and once they've agreed them personal terms, do they then open up verbal communications with the club and start discussing the possibility of signing the player and what the club is looking to sell the player for. Once they've agreed some kind of verbal agreement, that's when they actually send the formal paperwork with the offer included and the payment plan. I think I prefer it this way. At least you know that you're paying these millions of pounds for a player who actually wants to join your club and not someone who's just been forced out of the club. So Amrabat, I believe United have spoke with him and he's confirmed that he wishes to join United, and hence why we're getting all these rumours and links right now. Amrabat, he's a top player with a great engine on him, and he'll be great as a backup for Casemiro, because as we found out last season, Casemiro does have a tendency to get sent off and miss a few games each season. So having Amrabat in place to step in would be perfect, and he is cheap compared to a lot of players out there. And I think for United's problems with the FFP rules, I think he'd be a great player to bring in, ideal player to bring in. Talking about the FFP rules and the problems that United are facing, we are yet to hear of any departures or offers for any of the United players. Yes, we're hearing Chelsea are selling Aubameyang to another Saudi club. I've said it before and I keep saying it. Why are United not calling up these Saudi clubs? They should be on the phone to them right now, offering them players that we want to sell. We should be offering Harry Maguire to Al Nassr so he could join up with Cristiano Ronaldo. Can you imagine Cristiano Ronaldo's face? I'd love to see that face if he hears that Harry Maguire is joining his club. Oh my god, that'd be funny. That would be too funny. But on a serious note, the only possibility United have of making a big money signing for a striker is to offload all these players that they've got on the transfer list out, and they're not managing to do that right now. The biggest problem United have is that these players are on huge salaries and they don't want to leave. They don't want to go and half their salary and go and play for a crappier club. They want to be at the biggest club in the world. They've got commercial contracts that are worth a lot more and their salaries are huge. And this is why United's whole transfer policy, which they implemented a few years ago, has backfired. They attracted these big name players by giving them huge salaries and offering nothing else. Now these big players don't want to leave because they're on huge salaries and no other club can match these salaries. So United are now having problems with getting rid of them. If United are going to buy a top striker, they will need to sell these players, but I cannot see anyone paying 50 million for Maguire or 25 to 30 million for someone like Fred. It's just not happening. The Premier League clubs are just going to wait until the last day of the transfer window and then try to get these United players on loan or ask United to pay their wage. That's what's happened in recent years. We had Eric Bailly and Alex Telles. Man United were paying their salaries when they'd gone out on loan to other clubs. And this is the biggest problem, and I think this could happen this transfer window as well. The reality is Ten Hag does not have these players in his plans. They're not going to play in the season coming, and they need to get rid of them quick as possible, and these players are refusing to leave. That's it, simple as, and we have got huge problems because of that. But we need to get rid of these players, like I say, to get a decent striker in. We need that money available to put towards a striker if one comes available. The whole Kane transfer is still up in the air. I don't know if Bayern are going to finally get him or not, and if that is the case and he's still available near the end of the transfer window, or Osimhen, we need to be ready with that lump sum of money ready to go in to buy these players if they become available. That is why I'm saying get rid of these players and we have that money ready. Talking of strikers, actually, United have agreed personal terms with and have waiting on the sidelines Rasmus Højlund. Yes, United have had informal talks with Atlanta about him as well, and talked of the possibility of even Greenwood joining them. That would be a great. Last night, actually, I saw a tweet with a photo of Greenwood training with Anthony Elanga in Dubai, supposedly. Now, Greenwood divides opinion, I know, in most fans. Some fans want him out, some fans want him back. I believe that United's standpoint on Greenwood is that they find themselves in a very, very difficult situation. They don't want him coming back to United because that's too much baggage for them. But technically, he was not found guilty in a court of law for the allegations that were made against him, however serious they were. Now, United do not want this kind of player back because he will divide opinion, not only in the fan base but in the dressing room as well. Therefore, they are of the opinion that they want him out of the club. They do not want him to play for Manchester United ever again. However, they need to do this without the player having rights to sue Manchester United for unfair dismissal of some kind. And this is why Manchester United are very quiet about this whole topic and no one really knows what's going on. But I believe Greenwood is on his way out, and United have said for him to keep fit so that they can sell him to another club. Let's wait and see. Finally, as you know, I cannot complete the entire show without mentioning the takeover of Manchester United. I haven't got it in me, I'm sorry. In yesterday's show, I went all out on the Glazers and the process they call the takeover. I call it the smoke screen. I reported yesterday that Sheikh Yassin was considering to pull out on buying Man United due to the fact that the Glazers had failed to acknowledge his £6 billion offer and failed to engage with him. We've heard the same from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, that the Glazers have failed to engage him in the whole process and the takeover process. So neither bidder has been engaged by the Glazers. It's like that they've made these offers but not heard anything back from the Glazers or their representatives. Yesterday there was absolutely no one reporting on this news, and today I started hearing more and more news agencies mention this. In fact, they're saying that if the Qataris do not buy Man United, they'll be looking to buy another Premier League club to save them of the embarrassment of not getting Man United off the Glazers. That would be horrendous. What I keep hearing, which I really, really pray is not the case, is that the Glazers do not wish to leave and are exploring finance options that allows the club to come out of all its debt. Yes, the debt that the Glazers brought onto the club and have been paying interest on ever since in millions each year, which they get Man United to pay. They do not pay the interest payments out of their personal income. I'm being told that this is the primary reason why there's been such a delay in the takeover. The Glazers do not want a straight up offer and sale of the club. They do not want someone to come in and buy the club outright. They wanted a financial restructuring of the club. It's the media and the fans that came up with the whole term sale and takeover. Not once have you heard the Glazers or their agents come out and use those same terms. They've used language that could mean anything and many things. And this is it. This is the biggest problem for the Glazers. They only got two bidders, both of which wanted overall control of United. The Glazers were hoping for someone to come in and bid for 30 to 40% of the club and pay £3 to £4 billion to them and allow the Glazers to stay at the club and maintain full control over the club. This somewhat has backfired on the Glazers because they have only received two bids from two parties, both of which who want the Glazers out to some degree. Yes, Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to keep them in, but his majority stake in the club would put the Glazers on a back seat, which the Glazers do not want. They do not want to be overshadowed, and hence why they've delayed the takeover process so much, in the hope that there might be someone else out of the woodworks who might come in and bid for the club last minute, allowing the Glazers to stay on. And this is the biggest problem the Glazers are facing. They've got two bids, both of which they don't actually like, both of which means that they will lose control over Manchester United. This is their biggest problem. They don't prefer any of the bids. Now, no one's reporting this, but I am telling you that this is the case. The Glazers are not happy with any bid. They do not want any of the bids. All they wanted from this process is billions of pounds being brought into the club by an outside party who were not interested in taking over the football club. What they wanted to do with this money was clear the debt of Manchester United, which then means that they don't have to pay any interest on the club, but yet they remain fully in control of Manchester United and where they're going, because the Glazers believe that Manchester United in another 5 to 10 years time will be worth around £10 billion, especially if Manchester United start playing in some kind of Super League, which, if you remember, the Glazers tried to get them in on originally. So the Glazers are thinking about money, money, money. All they care about is money. I don't know about you or anybody else. Every United fan is entitled to his or her opinion, but for me, it's always been about getting a wealthy owner in that puts us on equal footing with the Cities, the Newcastles, the Real Madrids, an owner that is willing to spend big on Old Trafford and turn it into one of the best stadiums in the world, an owner that's going to spend billions in the training facilities. And that is why when I heard of Sheikh Yassim's bid, I knew that he was the owner who would do this. If we lose this chance of getting such owners, I have no idea who's going to help us out of this mess. I can tell you one thing though, all the fans of all of the other clubs in the Premier League and those around the world like Real Madrid, Barca, PSG, Bayern fans, they will be over the moon if Sheikh Yassim walks away from Man United. They will be happy for United to stay with the Glazers or to be sold to a part owner like Jim Ratcliffe, who will allow the Glazers to stay on and who himself has failed to pledge any money towards the club facilities or the stadium or the training facilities. An owner that already owns a failing club in Nice. An owner that says he loves Man United but bidded £4 billion for Chelsea less than a year ago. This is what we're dealing with. I rest my case, people, but I still remain hopeful. I remain hopeful that United will be sold by the Glazers to Sheikh Yassim. Yes, and I hope that the Glazers take that billions of pounds of money and they go off and they go and buy Liverpool with that money. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think that could happen. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I'll catch you later.